Hello everyone, and welcome. I know you're all probably pretty tired of the lore videos at this point, but I think I may have figured out what Miquella is trying to do with the Eclipse, as well as the missing piece he needs to make it work. Let me explain. We know that Godwyn had his soul slain on the night of the Black Knives, leaving him in a state of life within death and causing Deathroot to spread throughout the lands between. We also know that Miquella has taken an interest in the well-being of his older brother. Just below the city of Lendel, we can find a keyblade called the Golden Epitaph in the Ariza hero's grave. It's a sword made to commemorate the death of Godwyn the Golden, and Miquella infused it with the prayer, "O brother, Lord brother, please die a true death." So far, this is encouraging. Miquella wants Godwyn to die a true death and return to the Erdtree. And the epitaph even has an Ash of War that grants sacred order, so it could lead one to think that Miquella is on board with Golden Order fundamentalism. But after making our way through the city, we can find Radagon's Rings of Light, and it tells us that Miquella abandoned fundamentalism, for it could do nothing to treat Malenia's accursed rot. Later on, we'll find Castle Sol. We learn from the spirits here that Miquella requested they use an eclipse to resurrect Godwyn, in exchange for an invitation to his Haligtree. Sadly, they failed to accomplish this. A closer look around shows there are some concerning parts of Castle Sol as well, like why they felt they needed an Albinoric torture room, just like the ones in Present Town. Now I'm starting to wonder if Miquella is no longer interested in granting Godwyn a proper death, and maybe considering alternative methods. But from here, we hit a dead end and are basically left wondering, why did the Eclipse fail? And what are we going to do about Godwyn? Would Miquella approve of Fia's solution? Should Godwyn become the Prince of Death? The mending rune of the Death Prince does kind of resemble an eclipse. I've heard the theory that the eclipse failed because Radahn was still holding back the stars, which I agree with completely. This is supported by the Eclipse Crest Great Shield, where it refers to the eclipse as a protective star. As for how we're going to get Godwyn back, this is where my theory comes in. I do not think that Miquella would be okay with Fia's solution. Later in the game, we can travel to Miquella's Haligtree, and this place seems much more on theme with Miquella, and I couldn't find a single Albinoric torture room. Because we can see the Haligtree sigil when we use the last rites on the Golden Epitaph, I believe that even though Miquella has abandoned Golden Order fundamentalism, the solution is still going to be Golden Order adjacent. And I get the feeling that George R.R. Martin left the solution hidden in plain sight. So let's think. Can we find an example of someone who adheres to the Golden Order in the face of those who live in death? We can. The example is D.
I serve the Golden Order, that I might put this crooked land to rights, following only the guidance of the great Elden Ring. Those who live in death fall outside the principles of the Golden Order. Their mere existence sullies the guidance of gold, tainting its truth. And so it is the vermin must be exterminated, down to the very last.
His gear consists of armor depicting entwined twins of gold and silver, as well as a sword, forged by compounding silver and gold. The two known as D are inseparable twins. They are of two bodies and two minds, but one single soul. The inseparable twins found solace in the Golden Order, the only institution not to revile them as accursed beings. It can be very easy to dismiss their condition as just some more weird Elden Ring twin stuff, but notice it never mentions how they ended up this way. There is a point in Fia's quest when she gives you a weathered dagger and tells you to return it to its rightful owner. This dagger was once a special weapon of gold and silver intertwined, but is now worn down and marred by a black gash.
My dear, might I ask something of you? Could you please find the owner of this dagger and return it to them? A certain person gave it to me as a gift. It's a very precious thing. It must have a special place in the owner's heart. So I would like for the original owner to have it back.
We later find out this dagger's rightful owner to be Devon, Dee's brother. But when we locate Devon, he isn't doing so well. But he will regain his composure if you hand over Dee's armor, and can even be summoned for the nearby boss fight. That's when I noticed, when we summon Darien, he is shown as Dee, Hunter of the Dead. But when we summon Devon, he's shown as Dee, Beholder of Death. So here's my theory. I believe that at some point, Devon lost his soul and was left looking like this.
Like he's half dead already. I can't stomach to watch. Take well the lesson, friend. That's how you end up when seduced by those who live in death. When grace is sullied, it rots people from the inside. Breaks them.
But instead of exterminating what was left of his brother, Darien used an Eclipse to extend his soul to Devon. And this connection is maintained by the presence of gold and silver intertwined. This is why being robbed of the gold and silver dagger broke Devon's connection to their soul. And perhaps it was Darien performing the Eclipse ritual that caused all of the institutions to revile them as accursed beings. All except for the Golden Order. And all of this is what Miquella is trying to do with Godwyn. He doesn't just want to bring him back now, he's trying to share his soul with him. And how do they accomplish this? By combining gold and silver. We only need to look a little to see that silver is already heavily connected to rebirth. The rebirth monuments we encounter throughout the game have the same carvings found all over the Eternal Cities, which are all about silver. And in order to be born anew by Renala's amber egg, we also require a larval tear, which is a part of a silver tear. I am also theorizing that the true form of the Erd tree will appear as two trunks interleaving, one made of gold and the other silver. Because we can clearly see that there are two dying trees intertwining in the DLC, and the shadow of the Erd tree is written in silver. This is why the Halig tree looks so incomplete. It's missing its silver half. And since Miquella discovered how to create unalloyed gold, it makes sense that now he needs to create or find unalloyed silver. and this could give rise to the practice of unalloyed fundamentalism, or the unalloyed order. I'm not sure yet exactly how Miquella is going to get his hands on unalloyed silver, but I'm willing to bet it'll have something to do with his alter ego Saint Trina, as the sword of Saint Trina is made of silver, as well as the birthing droplet that we help Latenna return to the young yet towering sister whom had previously used it to create the wolf-riding Albinaurics and their blue-silver armor. But we'll have more answers when the DLC comes. There is, however, one more troubling detail I haven't mentioned yet. If this were to work and Miquella were to share a soul with Godwyn, I wonder if that would provide Miquella with any sort of access to override Godwyn's body. Because if he could, then this presents the perfect opportunity for Miquella to escape his curse of eternal childhood, and technically gives Miquella motive to see his brother's soul perish. Perhaps Miquella had more to do with that night than we realized. It would explain why there appear to be Black Knife assassins patrolling Ordina. Alright guys, I'll leave it there for now. Let me know what you think down below. Try to go easy on me. This is my first video. Thanks for watching.